A thesaurus, says the dictionary, is a treasury or storehouse, hence a repository especially of words, as a dictionary. But, in a sense, this book is the opposite of a dictionary. You turn to a dictionary when you have a word, but are not sure enough what it means, how it has been used, and what it may be expected to do. You turn to the thesaurus when you have your meaning already, but don't yet have the word. It may be on the tip of your tongue, or in the back of your mind, or the hollow of your thought, but what it is you don't know yet. It is like the missing piece of a puzzle. You know well enough that the other words you try won't do. They are not the right shape. They are too much or too little. They haven't the punch or have too much. They are too flat or too showy, too kind or too cruel. But the word which just fills the bill won't come. So you reach for the thesaurus. Like the dictionary, it is a dangerous book in all sorts of ways. Sometimes you wake up after half an hour and realize that the problem of the missing word is still where it was. You have just been wandering happily about in the treasure house, looking its riches over, forgetting what you came in for. It has worse dangers. Sometimes the words you find start new streams of thought, which wash everything out. Then, not the word only, but the idea too will be missing. In this lost chart situation, the best thing to conclude is that so evanescent an idea was hardly worth keeping. Sometimes, worse still, temptation assails you. Instead of the right word, the word your thought was yearning for, as its mysterious predestinate mate, some brazen hussy or wastrel of a vocable, never met and never thought of before, seizes your regard. Oh, these encounters that give a coasting welcome ere it comes. Beware, as Confucius Papal said, for one word a man is often deemed to be wise, and for one word he is often deemed to be foolish. We ought to be careful indeed what we say. A big vocabulary is a grand thing when well understood and resourcefully used, but all grandiose have their penalties. It is the business of a thesaurus to take us into all verbal company, to introduce us to every sort and condition of word, with no guarantee, expressed or implied, as to what they may not do to us if we trust them without proper inquiry. Who had given man speech, or who had set therein a thorn for peril and a snare for sin? Cries the Horus in Atalanta in Calydon. The great railway strike in England turned upon the phrase definite terms. One side took it to mean unchangeable, the other explained too late that they only meant full and detailed. Well does Peter Mark Roget observe, a misapplied or misapprehended term is sufficient to give rise to fierce and interminable disputes. A misnomer has turned the tide of popular opinion. A verbal sophism has decided a party question. An artful watchword thrown among combustible materials has kindled the flame of deadly warfare and changed the destiny of an empire. That is the tragic side. The comic possibilities more concern us here. People who swagger about in borrowed words may, like Porthos in The Three Musketeers, impress the inexperienced. They bring the wrong sorts of smiles to the lips of the discerning. To know the words without the things is perilous indeed. How often, said the lecturer, have I dialed by the shores of Loch Lomond or strolled on the delightful slopes overlooking Lake Geneva. Pardon me, said a member of the audience, but are they not synonyms? You may think so, sir, replied the speaker, but for my part I consider Loch Lomond by far the more synonymous of the two. Awful warnings of this sort abound. I always tell my children to look it up in the dictionary or the encyclopedia, said the sea captain. That is what they are there for. Always be exact. No, I don't wear my ribbons in public places. Seems to me they are a bit promiscuous. But when is a word our own? What is a mastery of language? How in fact do we acquire a vocabulary worthy of a name? The answer, of course, is by experience with words, by living with great books and good talkers, by watching their words at work and at play. In brief, by becoming familiar with words. Mere acquaintanceship with them is not profitable here. An acquaintance is one whose name and face you know, without more than a rough idea of his being in business. A familiar is one about whom you know as much as possible. Words are astonishingly like people. They have characters. They almost have personalities, are honest, useful, obliging, or treacherous, vain, stubborn. They shift as people do, their conduct with their company. They are an endless study in which we are studying nature and ourselves at that meeting point where our minds are trying to give form to or take it from the world. Peter Mark Roget a century ago had high hopes of the whole his arrangement of words made be to thought and to the construction of a common second language such as basic English may become. There is nothing fantastic about such hopes. In drawing up his scheme of divisions, his model was biological classification. He was a physician and a secretary of the Royal Society. But we need not take Roget's actual categories too seriously. To criticize them would be to bring up all the hardest problems they are. They serve their purpose, which is to remind us systematically of all that we know about words. It is not sufficiently considered, said Dr. Johnson, that men require more often to be reminded than to be informed. For information about words, we go to the dictionary. The bigger it is, the better. We go to the Thesaurus in the hope that something we really know already will come back to us in our need. How vast is the realm of our current oblivion! I know, said Benjamin Paul Blood, as having known the secret of existence. Nothing will better make us realize how nearly true this is than an hour spent in the treasury. How incredibly much we understand, if only we can mobilize our understanding. Roget's Thesaurus is one of the greatest of all memoria technica. It is an astonishing thought that we carry it in the pocket.